Right. Thank you. And with that, we'll jump in here. So this is a follow-up meeting from last week's meeting. Thank you to those of you who attended and came out to that, but it's a lot more in-depth here. So our agenda, our typical welcome and introduction. We'll then go into a deep dive into our Diridon BART station design update, and then have another section for the Diridon intermodal station connection to BSV design update. And then we'll have some space for question and answers as well. And then our next steps. So really focusing on the
content
and follow up from last week's content there.
But not on downtown, just strictly
Diridon. Yes, correct. And I'd like to open up our roll call. I don't think I saw Adina online, but Alan, you're in person. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Alan Williams, Nagley Park Campus Community Association neighborhood representing.
Thank you, Alan. Bert, I see you online. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm here. It's Bert Weaver representing Del Mas Park Neighborhood Association.
Thank you, Bert. I don't see Carol, but I see Charlie online.
Charlie Foss, CFO at San Jose State.
Thanks, Charlie. I see Chris as well. Chris Morrissey, sorry. And if you're speaking, you're on mute, Chris.
Chris Morrissey, San Jose Arena Authority.
Thanks, Chris. And Chris Shea, I see you online as well.
Less important, Chris, but Chris Shea, Vice President of Government Affairs, Shark Sports and Entertainment.
It's just alphabetical.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you, Chris. I don't see Dana on the line, or Edgar, or Elizabeth, or James, or Jeffrey, Jose. And if I'm missing you folks, because I do see an iPhone, please do shout out if I am. Don't see Kristen or Larry. I don't see Mike. I think I saw Nate LeBlanc earlier, but I could have been mistaken. I don't see Ron, and Tony informed me he has an appointment, so he couldn't make it, or he might hop on later in this Zoom. But thank you for those of you who are here in person. Thank you, Rod, for coming, John for coming, David for coming in person. Appreciate you carving out some time today. So with that, we'll get into our upcoming meetings. I shared this last week, but just a reminder, there's a lot of meetings coming up on our project side and also on the board of directors side. So as a reminder, we do have our upcoming Downtown-Diridon CWG meeting on August 20th. And that will be a follow-up to the content shared today. Again, more in-depth there. And then our next board of directors meeting is actually tomorrow night. So feel free to tune into that. And then there's a few.
Tonight.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, tonight. Tonight's Thursday.
Thursday.
Thank you. It's tonight. And then we have a few oversight committee meetings and board of directors meetings coming up in August and September as well. And then just a reminder that the Diridon JPAB meeting is mid-August on that 14th there. So I will email out if there's any other meetings or updates there, but just keep these on your radar. And with that, I'll pass it over to Greg to kick us off with our Diridon BART station design update.
Great, thanks, Kristen. My name is Greg Tebow. I just wanted to introduce myself again. You know, I've been on this job for quite some time. I actually started on this in 2006, and I worked a lot on phase one. I've spent some time on other transit systems, but I'm a local. I did go to San Jose State and own a home on 16th and Julian. So, you know, I'm somebody who this program does mean something to me, and I have been here for quite some time, seeing the progress that we've made, and it's been really beneficial. So. Anyway, I just wanted to introduce myself and let you guys know who I am, because I don't think I've met a lot of you when I presented last week. So it's good to meet all of you again. Here's the area of focus. Again, we wanted to talk a little bit more details based on the discussions we had last week, and show you a little bit more about the options that we have and some of the positives and some of the negatives between the three options that we have. We're going to be talking about three different things. at each station. I mean, at each area. So we'll talk about the 3 station configuration options, and then we'll talk about the 3 intermodal connection options. So just to keep that in mind, we'll start with the station configuration. We'll talk about the 3 different options we have there, which is underground with the expanded footprint, and then the above ground. And then we'll talk about the connection to the future intermodal station, which will be the high-speed rail connection. That will have the baseline, which is above ground, and then we'll talk about the connection to the primary entrance, and then a direct connection to the BART tunnel. So I just want to let you guys know those are the 6 things we'll talk about today.
Considering that's what we talked about last time, are you trying to get different feedback from us? What's the goal?
Yeah,
of this?
so we do want to make sure that what we presented was understood. And I think we had some comments and questions from the last meeting that I want to make sure I address today. And if I don't address those, then I want to make sure that we have an open forum for you guys to ask questions and we give you more feedback. So we also have another poll that was sent out. It was sent out as a link. So we're not going to do the online version using your phone today.
Polls are useless.
And polls might be useless, but we did send a link out. You guys can provide some open feedback and type in some things that you'd like to see. And so those are the things that we wanted to make available to the CWG members.
There's an age bias in polls.
We will definitely take whatever's verbally explained to us as well today and definitely note that.
Well, let me comment.
Sure.
I apologize for probably encouraging this meeting because I did not understand the linkage between the 2 stations in the last discussion. I have just gotten a very careful briefing and do understand it a lot better now and appreciate your efforts. I'm not sure I agree with every aspect of it, but it may be all you can do. But I would like to describe some things that might make it better.
Okay, sounds good. So we'll kind of go through this. I'll give you guys the presentation, and then we'll open it up for questions for anybody who might have some. And again, this is an open forum for everybody. So these are the things we talked about for in terms of things that are driving some of these decisions. These are some of the things that we need to keep above grade. I just wanted to reiterate that we do have on these options for the stations. There's certain things that do have to be above and some things we can definitely put in a basement level. So these are the 3 options that we have. And again, we went into these graphics last time, and I want to bring up some new graphics that show a lot more detail for each of the 3 configurations. I do want to go over them quickly though. The underground scenario, which is on the left, puts about 50% of all the station infrastructures below grade. That's in the white hatch. And then we have 2 floors above. The one in the middle expands the overall station footprint and allows for a little more ground floor retail. That's the main difference between the one on the left and the one in the middle. And then the one on the right is just the above ground. Everything's at 1 level at grade. And then there might be a little bit more on a 2nd level above grade in terms, but it's all essentially VTA and BART infrastructure in that area. And there's really no basement level. So those are the
great. A quick question about everything at grade. The station infrastructure facilities, how high is that?
That'd be about 20 feet, 20 to 30 feet. Like I say, I'll show you some axons which show a 3D view of those.
Okay.
So I can show you what those look like.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So this shows us a little more detail. This is the underground scenario. It shows kind of some of the room layouts that we have in there. It shows the escalators and elevators and stairs that are inside of that station drum. The station drum is shown in purple. We have 2 entrances, one on the west side, one on the east side. And the main configuration change here that's different from the expanded footprint is we've got those 2 green strips along the side of the station. And that's about a 25-foot offset from the back of the sidewalk to the frontage of the station. And that'll allow for some activation, some open space. We can put some things in there like pedestrian friendly elements. And it also allows for queuing of people entering this station after events or after or during crush, during peak entrance and exiting of the station area itself. So, we got a lot of people coming in at nighttime, or a lot of people leaving the station. They can kind of exit out and not dump directly into the sidewalk. We don't have a lot of parking around this station itself. And essentially, we all know this whole development around this area, will kind of change how Montgomery and Cahill look. But this is essentially the day one situation. This allows for a fairly large future VTA TOD site. VTA will develop that in conjunction with a future partner, a future developer. And that will show you in the next slide. Could be anywhere between a low rise to mid rise or a high rise building, really depending on usage and how that works. The ground floor would essentially be activated retail space or commercially leasable space around that whole perimeter. And then we also have the frontage on Santa Clara, which allows for some retail or leasable space for various vendors. So this is the kind of configuration for the underground scenario. We've got a lot of infrastructure below grade, and then we've got the needed infrastructure above grade behind that station. And that's shown kind of in white there. This is a cross section of the area that I'm talking about, where you've got a basement 1 level that's shown in the white hatch there. And then you've got the area above. So we've got this large station drum that goes down to the tunnel. That's essentially the same in all the scenarios.
So if the Girl Scouts or the Scouts want to sell popcorn or cookies, they have space to set up outside of the.
Yeah, so that's kind of what these green strips do on all scenarios. We always have a green strip on Montgomery Street. We have some grading issues we got to deal with over here. But at Cahill, this is really the change here. We've got kind of an open space. You could have vendors. You could do a lot of little different things out here.
Can I ask you a really dumb question? Horizontally,
Yes.
I think that's horizontally. What is when you come down, where is the line that a passenger would come to and then enter the round circle?
So right here
If you
is
come down an elevator or an escalator,
right.
where
So
does it stop?
so if you entered the station, this is street level, right at the top of here.
Yeah.
Then you'd come down one set of escalators down to a landing, and then you'd come down a second set of escalators down to this landing.
And that's
Then
it.
you'd walk over
Right,
here.
so that's it. So there's a
Yeah.
big box underneath which has all kinds of stuff in it.
Oh yeah, we got a lot of other stuff down in here
Got it.
too.
So
This
that's
thing's about 100 feet
And then when
deep.
you go across,
Over here,
so the trains are at the very top of that big round thing.
they're
there.
actually
And it-
right in the middle of this.
Well, then you gotta go down again from that level to get to the
You
train.
do need one more small flight down to the train.
And that's an escalator and an elevator?
There's an elevator, there's an escalator, and there's staircases, all three.
So there's 3 escalators to get down. And what's the distance from ground to that level where the trains are?
It's about 70 feet.
Thank you.
So I'll just keep going to the next one, and then we can come back and talk about any of these options.
Could I put something on the record, just,
Sure.
and you and I talked about it, but in other high-speed rail systems around the world, you would use the space on top of that building
Right.
for a high-rise building. That would be a commercial, and the revenue from it would accrue to the transit agency. In fact, the Japanese Shinkansen gets 40% of its revenue from the land leases. That makes it a real moneymaker. I don't know why we don't use that space and plan to use that space for TOD.
And right now, based on the fact that you have to design that structure to BART standards, the commercially, it doesn't make commercial sense based on the analysis that's been done in the market today. So that's part of the VTA real estate analysis that's been done.
It doesn't make sense that it works in Japan, it works in China, it works all across Europe, but it won't work in the United States. And we're really losing an opportunity for 40% of the revenue that could be coming in to the system. And that's free revenue. You don't have to work for it.
Right.
Forever.
You still have to have the initial investment to build it. And right now the initial investment to build it isn't there. But what this option does is does have a pretty significant mid to high rise building right adjacent to the station. Plus there's a lot of other buildings, as you know, that are going to be developed around it.
I'm going to continue to push to try to figure out a way to optimize that space. Because if you have one building, it's a good thing. And with San Jose going to become the New York City of the West, and it will, we're going to need all the space we can possibly get, especially with the airport capping us.
Right.
And losing that space doesn't make any sense.
I think we can.
So no reflection on you folks, but I'll have to continue to push.
That's fine. I mean, we can note that and we can get you the economics behind it. But right now, that does not.
In Japan, the developer pays those costs.
Right. And that's what VTA will do for here is enter an agreement with the developer for this site.
And I do see Charlie has his hand raised and John has his hand
do.
raised.
I'd like to just go through the next two options real quick, and then we'll answer all questions on all the options if that's okay. Just let me get through these, and maybe by the time I get through them, some of the questions will be answered. Again, this is the expanded footprint, very similar to the previous one, except we do lose that exterior space on the left side of Cahill. We create a larger footprint of station building, and we add a little bit more commercial leasable space on the ground floor.
That's the middle.
That's the middle one back there. That's correct.
What's the margin, the width of the sidewalks?
I think we're at 15 feet of sidewalk, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so still not.
So it's not a tiny sidewalk, but it definitely inhibits a little bit of that queuing space and some of the things that we really miss. This one, then we start talking about Cahill Street and how that becomes operational after the program is. And again, we'll have to work through that with the city of San Jose, our partners. But this does expand the actual station footprint a little bit. So that's another option. And this is kind of the 3D view of that. Again, if you can see, this gets a little wider on this side, and we've got a little bit of an entrance pavilion, so to speak, here. And again, this does eat up that ability to have Girl Scouts or whoever else to be out on this place selling things like that. Anyway, so that's this option here. The last option and this is the cross section of that. And the last option we have is the above grade scenario. Again, this essentially builds out the whole facility with VTA and BART infrastructure. We do have an integrated bike station and locker. We do have some commercial leasable space in the corner. I do want to note that when we had the other options, we don't show a bike locker here, a bike storage locker within the station, but we will have significant number of bike lockers out here on this site. And then when we develop this TOD site, we will integrate a bike locker storage facility there. So there definitely will be a lot of bike parking. We have to have that as part of our commitments to the program. So I do want to reiterate that because that is a difference between.
No, that one is this one, right?
That one, yeah.
He's talking about
that
these
one over
options
there.
back there.
Right.
Don, they're here too.
Yeah.
Well, those are the
Yep.
connections, the underground connections.
So that's kind of what that looks. And there was a question earlier about how high that would be. We're in the 20 to 25, 30 feet range. It looks like we will likely need the ground floor for this facility is fairly large. We've got a lot of huge equipment and a lot of things that are hanging off the ceiling that need to maintain that equipment. And so that first floor, I think, is 20 feet or so. And then we would have another floor on top of that and some mechanical screening around it, if we went with this space.
And then you could go above that.
Right now, we wouldn't plan to do that, but that, yes, I hear
You
what you're
can find a
saying.
developer.
Right. So those are the three options. Now we can open it up to questions before we get into the next phase of the program. So maybe,
Charlie, I think Charlie raised his hand first.
okay.
Thanks, guys. So maybe a crazy question, but I'm going to try to bring Rod and some of the rest of us maybe together on my thought. So if you go back a couple slides to, option 3, I like option 3. A lot of the stuff Rod was saying, I think is important, that we can't build for today. We got to build for the future. And we only get one bite at this thing. And if you build a one-story building, we're sacrificing going up. Is there a way that you take option 3 and instead of putting, because I assume putting all that equipment underground gets pretty expensive, cramming it into that space. Can you put it on the second floor of this structure and use that underground space as a bunker for lockers and bike storage and stuff like that? And think of this kind of differently. This bike storage on the side is great commercial type of space.
And that's why we have the commercially leasable space on that area facing Montgomery. I think what we looked at a lot of different options here, and if we start to stack things up taller, then you have maintenance issues as well. It's almost the same maintenance issues as you have as a below grade scenario. So a lot of these pieces of equipment are heavy, and to maintain them, you got to have an ability to go in and out. Once you start putting elevators in, whether you go below or above, you're still kind of having that same infrastructure. So having the fully above grade allows for the most economically and maintenance free, or the most maintainable space. Once you stack them, we have a little bit more O&M costs. And a little bit more capital infrastructure costs. I hope I answered your question, Charlie.
Yeah, and kind of, but I'm with Rod on this thing. And I look at San Jose State's campus, and the one thing that I wish I got here 10 years earlier, because we have 3 massive buildings that are 2-story buildings on our campus that take up a quarter of my whole real estate.
Right.
And we have to build up.
Yeah.
We have to figure out how to go up, and having, a 2-story building going across this large of a span, I think 20, 30, 40 years from now, people are going to look back and say, what the hell was Diridon thinking to only go up 2 stories? And Rod's going to get blamed for that, right? His name's on the thing. So sorry,
You're gonna
Rod.
have to stand in line to the
But Charlie, when you
Good
say
idea,
option
Charlie.
3, which one do you mean option 3? Because today we covered above ground as option 3. That's not the one you're looking at, right?
Yeah.
instead of having it just at that level, have 25 stories on it.
Well, maybe not
Yeah.
quite that high, but yeah, it's got to go up. We could debate, how much is needed, and that's where I think the analysis falls flat right now. Is where massively today we have too much square footage in San Jose, and no one needs more office square footage in downtown.
Right.
So that's the problem, and you have to put a footprint in that maybe you can build on top of in the future.
And that's really what this is. So that's option 1 and option 2. We've done several different analyses on the station's infrastructure facilities. And really, we can't start stacking these into like 3 levels, or 4 levels.
Yeah, I get the main station. So you guys convinced me of that back Midtown station. So yeah.
So
Okay, so maybe it's option 2 then, that is the future TOD site. Maybe.
Yeah, option 1 and option 2 have that future TOD site and allow for the development to occur in a multi-story level above, for sure. Right. I mean, that's really what we've done. And we've condensed as much as we can into a basement level and to an at-grade level, including, and again, this does have a second floor here as well. And this is a fairly grand entrance. You know, this is a fairly large, high roof facility. It'll definitely be tall as the historic station. So it is a pretty grand facility. It's not the 40 stories that I think Rod's talking about in terms of a development above, but it is a fairly large piece of infrastructure.
Well, the airport clearance requirements is 25 stories there.
Yeah.
And that would seem to be interesting to a commercial developer,
Right.
high-rise developer. But you have to have the foundations for it.
So, and this would allow for that foundation to be put in, this foundation, and they could put in, you know, a basement level or a couple basement levels as well, for this blue future TOD. So, you know, those are all things that can happen when VTA entered in a partnership with a developer.
Can we
And I
build
do-
in right now, some kind of, posts or some for the foundation so that
I don't
we have
know.
an option? Cause all you always hear is like, yeah, developers say, oh, it's too expensive. We'd have to go here and here. But if we did like downtown San Francisco, where we put the hole,
The
for the
pilings.
future high-speed rail, and you build it in, it's just dirt cheap compared to having to retrofit. It just seems somehow if we could design in some kind of foundation and give a developer a heads up.
We wouldn't need to at this point. The developer can build a foundation here that's uninhibited by our infrastructure. This whole area underneath this in the plan view is essentially wide open for him to develop a pile foundation system here, no problem.
So just outside of the big hole.
Yeah. So the future TOD site's way over here, right?
Correct.
So his deep pile foundation system is going to go in here. We're not going to put anything.
I'm not talking.
Over this,
Oh,
build in something here, and we've got it open, and so that we can go 20 stories above it.
we just do not have the ability to fund that currently right now. And so the ability to develop on top of these stations is, I don't think, something that VTA is able to do at this point in time.
And that's because there's a no developer will come in and help you with the cost.
That's correct.
Have you
And
approached
again-
Google?
Again, yeah, I mean, we've been in contact with Google for the last, 4 years, talking to how they're gonna build stuff, how we're gonna build stuff. We've compromised different things. We actually moved one of the major pieces of our emergency egress shafts over here. You can see it kind of in a circular here. This used to be on the adjacent block. We've moved that over here to save the program schedule. And it cost us a little bit more money, but we got it out of the way between Montgomery and Barack Obama. So, those are some of the things we've already done to try to mitigate some of the things for Google. And again, as I said, the design criteria for a BART facility is extremely, extremely high. And so once you design for a structure to withstand an 8.0 earthquake here, the cost of those units above skyrocket. And so there's not a developer who's going to be willing to build it and rent it, because he's not going to be able to rent it out. He can do this site for half the price. I mean, the price of building on top of this facility is twice as much as it is right here. And I don't know if it's twice as much. I don't know if it's 32%, but it's a heck of a lot more to go through a seismic importance factor of 1.5 versus a standard residential commercial building over here. So those are the reasons why it's very difficult to build on top of the BART stations. And it's, the same discussion for the downtown station. We have a very large structure there, but we don't have any development on top of it.
That's pretty unfortunate.
I don't know why we can't do it.
Japanese can.
Japan and everybody else does it. It just
Japanese are in
doesn't make
a earthquake zone.
They have
They are,
worse
yes.
earthquakes problems than we have.
Yeah, but Rod, I think you're correct, Rod. 10 years ago, with the discussion about building and building up and everything in downtown, Google's got, what do they got? 100 some odd acres and they ain't building diddly right now. All right. And they're not going to be building for a while. And so, you know, this is a play that the BART folks can make happen 5 years, 10 years, 30 years, you know, in the future. So it's reserved for this, but you still have that other 100 acres that hasn't even been developed. And
Right.
why would a developer develop this site? You know, they could partner with BART, but Google's got other sites around there.
That's the same talk San Jose State, was saying 10 years ago. Exactly.
Well, Charlie, I agree with you, but again, we're not building for 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. We're building for 50 to 100 years from now.
But they can
And-
build it 10 or 15 years from now. It's not the BART guys that need to build it right now.
Yeah,
Rod. The
well,
place is set. So to me, the value of this is that blue box is future VTA TOD site. They've set aside what you're asking for, Rod. They're just not going
Now-
to build it now because there's no money to build it now.
just so what's being built in the station structure, the circular structure, doesn't inhibit the possibility of putting down pilings and building over the top 40 years from now.
Well, you'll never build over the top of the house here.
I don't think we would do that in 40 years. If they wanted to retrofit it and build something above, that could potentially be done, maybe. But you know, this box, folks, you know, we thought was going to cost us $6 billion. Now it's going to cost us 12. Trying to plan for, you know, a future thing above it is going to cost us above and beyond what we have funding for.
I won't interrupt the meeting anymore on the issue, but I still am concerned that we have the option at some point in the future when San Jose is busting at the seams for office space again, to have some additional office or maybe residential space.
And that could potentially come into a retrofit scenario for this facility. I wouldn't throw it off the table completely. It could be done. It would be a major partake. And I would say any developer is going to develop all of these other properties around here before they touch that. For sure. As I said, the cost of developing on top of a BART station is extremely expensive.
Maybe that's the way it'll occur.
And that'll happen.
When they run out of land.
If they run out of land, boom, we throw another facility on top.
And they'll jump on the opportunity of doing something more expensive.
Yeah.
So let me go back one more time, because I had this discussion a few months ago with you guys about when we were talking about the Midtown station and how I was asking, can you go up on that station and build exactly what Rod's talking about, and do a P3 and figure out how you go up from that. I was told at that time that you cannot build up. It wasn't a cost issue. It was a matter of a structure issue, that with the spanses and everything, you didn't want to go up, or you couldn't go up.
And I will reiterate, it is a structural issue to build on top of this station. There's a significant amount of structural loading that the developer would have to design for to have that entire structure withstand the BART credible earthquake.
Right. So I'm there with it. Rod, do you understand that? Because now it's not on that middle of the page here. It's on the future VTA TOD site is where your development goes.
Right.
For the next 20 years. If 30, 40 years from now, if San Jose turns into the New York City of the West Coast, which is what it's projected to do because of Silicon Valley,
We'll have to
Then-
figure it out then.
then you need to put pilings all around that facility and suspend your overhead, your structure on the new pilings.
I wouldn't say that's completely impossible. It would be very difficult to do, but there's something that could potentially be done.
And I do want to keep a time check here because we do want to get through our Diridon
Yeah.
intermodal section. but
Right.
I want to pause for our online folks. If there's anyone in the chat, or if you want to raise your hand for any questions or comments here before we move along.
Let me add one more point, and I really apologize for interrupting all the time. You have to realize that the revenue that's being lost here is not to BART. It's VTA's land. And you're losing then the 20 stories of commercial or residential or whatever rental or lease for the next 50 years, whatever it happens to be, from that building for VTA's operation. And that's the decision we're making. And maybe that's the only thing we can do right now.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions on this particular 3 layouts that we've got? Okay, did we answer everyone's concerns? Again, there are the polling survey will go out. You guys are more than welcome. Please fill it out. It'll be open till tomorrow at midnight. Please provide some feedback. And I think that was just in the chat, and it was also sent in an email. Okay, just as a matter of time, and again, we'll be able to answer more questions after we go through the slides as well. If I can get to the next slides, here we go. Okay, so now we've got the 3 different scenarios for the intermodal station. And I just want to orient us. This is the BART station here in orange. We've got the SAP Center across the street. And then this is the current design of the intermodal facility layout. We've had several task force meetings with the group who's doing this, and the city and the Diridon business case team, and we've gotten a lot of feedback. We've shared a lot of technical data between them and came up with kind of our 3 options that we'll talk about today. We've got the above grade scenario, which is an at grade walkable route. We've got a below grade scenario, which ties into the primary head house drum itself. And then the third one is a direct connection to the BART tunnel. And again, for the folks who are concerned about whether or not you could still walk around up above, all 3 scenarios, obviously the first one, but all 3 you can definitely walk from the future connection across this new plaza and into the head house. But the third option gives us a more direct route through a tunnel. And this is the at-grade scenario. This is a cross section that shows the future high-speed rail tracks here. This is essentially where the let's see, can you guys see my pointer? No, I need some help with the pointer over here. So yeah, this is the area that the current Caltrain alignment is, right in this area. Here's where the pedestrians would be able to get out of that station, come into this station, come down those escalators, and then enter directly. This is obviously a no cost scenario for the BSV program. The next phase shows what we would do is a connection to the primary head house. We would have a knockout panel here, which would allow for a future connection. The area in yellow would essentially be like a basement 1, B1 level tunnel that would cross over and then tie into the intermodal station. Now, I will note that this option is not preferred by the Diridon Intermodal Group. The amount of time savings associated with this really does not provide much benefit for passengers, whether they're above grade or below grade. The only real benefit here would be to have people available to walk in a tunnel instead of walking outside. So I do want to note that this is likely not to be advanced, but I did want to show you because we did show it last week, and I wanted to reiterate kind of a little bit more detail of what we were talking about. The third option is a direct tunnel connection. What this does is it allows for a pathway from the future intermodal station to a future tunnel to be built by the intermodal team. And then we would extend our platform concourse about 125 feet or so, which would allow for people to come down this tunnel, escalator, elevator scenario, tie directly into the tunnel, 'll, and then access the BART trains in that fashion. Now, I will note that this option is not preferred by the Diridon Intermodal Group. The amount of time savings associated with this really does not provide much benefit for passengers, whether they're above grade or below grade. The only real benefit here would be to have people available to walk in a tunnel instead of walking outside. So I do want to note that this is likely not to be advanced, but I did want to show you because we did show it last week, and I wanted to reiterate kind of a little bit more detail of what we were talking about. The third option is a direct tunnel connection. What this does is it allows for a pathway from the future intermodal station to a future tunnel to be built by the intermodal team. And then we would extend our platform concourse about 125 feet or so, which would allow for people to come down this tunnel, escalator, elevator scenario, tie directly into the tunnel, and then access the BART trains in that fashion. So this does cost our program a little bit of money. We would put some steel liner rings in this precast tunnel liner segment, so you can tap into that in the future. We would provide a little bit more concrete and a little bit more mezzanine level and extend that concourse to tie in. The BART fare gates would be in the yellow area somewhere. That would be coordinated with the intermodal team as well as with BART. We would provide conduits and infrastructure for that future tie-in, so those fare gates could communicate back. We'd put in the communications infrastructure, et cetera, and work through that. So also, you could still walk out of the station, walk across this future plaza, and then walk in the head house if you wanted to go down that way too. So this doesn't mandate you have to go in the station this way. It just provides a more direct connection for those who might want to jump on a BART train immediately.
So this opening right here would be right on West San Carlos or Santa Clara, sorry.
So if you look, this exact design is not really complete yet. We just showed it's a cross section. So, you know, this tunnel, the yellow, is really just schematic right now. This is a future design by the intermodal team. They would come up with exactly how this escalator and elevator situation would work. We would just provide this future tap in for that configuration. You know, I think we heard about maybe there could be some shops or some things down here. That's fine. That's something that they could do for sure as part of the development of this job. I don't know. That's part of a different program. They are a stakeholder in this program. We do have a partnership with them. So we would make what we've done is aligned this connection point to the precise location that they have planned. So we've worked with them to find out exactly how long of a station platform addition we would need. You know, it's 126 feet. It's not 73 feet. It's not 152. Like, this is where they want it. So we can all say we've all agreed where that's where it would be.
Same concept as the box being created in advance under the Transbay terminal, so that when you get the tunnel there, the box is there. And it's the same idea. You're setting that up in advance.
That's right. Yeah,
So-
same
so
type
we
of
can
thing.
use it when the-
Yeah, we tap into it at that later date.
And it'll have the same sort of descent. You gotta have a head house. It's 70 feet. You got to get down.
You do have to get down a fairly large scenario. So we've actually seen some concepts from them. They actually have a straight section, and then they kind of have a several escalators that come down and then tap into about the middle of their platform.
No, so it doesn't come out on West San Carlos. It would actually be within the station.
Yeah, it comes into the station somewhere.
It probably wouldn't be.
You didn't say that last time.
It probably
Yeah,
wouldn't.
that's why I wanted to show these more detailed exhibits to make sure that you guys kind of understand these tap into the station somewhere within the platform, within the middle portion of it.
Probably the elevated platform.
It could go into either one. So, you know, we're talking about, you know, that entrance would be somewhere in this general area within the station footprint. And so they would start that descent with a series of escalators and staircases that come down, and then tap into our tunnel.
I see.
And so it's got to tie in the light rail, which is already on the.
Yeah, no, light rail, their light rail alignment runs right here. They've got several concepts they're working at. The historic station is right here. They're, you know, right now light rail kind of swerves around it. This group is looking at a couple different varieties of how that light rail could either stay in its current alignment. Maybe they need to shift the alignment. But I think what they're trying to do is maintain the historic station depot right where it is right now. So this is a huge job. We're not here to design this job. I'm just here to try to find a way to tap into it as most economically feasible as possible.
Maybe we could ask you if you would.
Well, that might be my next one. We got to build this one first, though,
The
folks.
point is,
Right? We got to build this one first.
They've been working for over 20 years.
Right.
on designing this project,
Yes.
and we haven't even formally started an environmental impact review.
Wow.
So, will, pedestrians bring bikes along the tunnels? Is that part of the design as well?
There are bike, what do you call them? Channels within the staircases for access for bikes. For bikes that would be parked somewhere.
I was thinking bringing like from the, if you're transferring from Caltrain or high-speed rail with a bike to BART with a bike. And
There will be bike lockers outside. There'll be a lot of places to store bikes.
But I
No,
was
no,
asking,
to-
how do
to
you
bring-
physically transfer your bike from one mode to the other?
Yeah. It's like Caltrain, you bring it
High-speed.
on.
Carl's train or high-speed rail to BART.
Yeah, BART, you can, they're going back and forth, but I believe you can bring bikes on BART as well. So
Yes.
bikes have to be able to move along.
Same
whatever-
thing. Yeah.
whatever.
So all of these are designed to the
Okay.
BART bike standards, which include like channelization in the edge of the staircases and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So those are the three options that we've got here. Again, the direct connection does cost this program some money right now to put this infrastructure in. So we just need to make sure that that's going to be something that, you know, our community working group is definitely interested in seeing. I know we've had a lot of positive feedback on it in the past. Now we just got to confirm that with the team and then find some funds for it with our partners.
So what's you said the time difference is a minute.
I believe it turned out to be right around a minute and 20 seconds or something.
But what's the actual time?
I think it's 4 minutes, if I'm not mistaken.
Versus 5.
Versus three and some change. I can get those numbers to you. I'm bringing it up by memory right now.
Just kind of ballpark.
Yeah.
So that's.
And that really goes from like the middle of a platform up to the middle of the other platform. So and there's different software programs that are used to model that pedestrian routing. And if I'm not mistaken, I thought it was 4 minutes, 4 minutes and 27 seconds or something like that.
Makes all the
But I can get
difference.
those numbers to the team.
It'll make all the difference in your community.
Yeah, I mean, as we said, there's going to be tens and hundreds of thousands of people a day. You save a minute, that's a lot of time.
It adds up.
Yep. So those are the main scenarios we wanted to cover. Any other questions on these three scenarios for the tap into the future intermodal station?
Compliments to you folks for making it so clear this time.
Okay, and I apologize, we weren't clear last time.
It was probably my.
No, and I think it was the first time we had a hybrid meeting, so we were kind of working through some of the technical glitches and I think hopefully this one was presented and you guys were able to see what we were working on.
I can see a first timer maybe going from the Caltrain high-speed rail station right on this right here, and then going into the tube, or I don't know what you called it.
Head house.
The what house?
Head house.
Head house.
Yeah.
But after that, I can't imagine anybody doing anything but going to the future tunnel connection, the yellow thing. I mean, that just so ideal.
Again, if you've got 20 minutes to kill, maybe you want to go and get a hot dog or something out here. You know, whatever it is, get a coffee, take in the sights, take a phone call.
Art comes often and not well.
I agree.
I just can't imagine that scenario. Any analysis done if you do go with the future tunnel connection, and would you have to could you reduce the capacity of the head
house? No. I think right now this head house is going to exist no matter what, because this is future. So our platform, our emergency egress has to operate whether or not this yellow part is built.
Right.
So
that's fine.
I just out of SAP Center.
Yeah.
The head house really is helpful to SAP.
Yeah.
So people.
With everybody, really.
The 20,000, 25,000 people that attend an event there will need to all of a sudden get there and get through in a big gulp.
And that's
where the ones coming out of the yellow tunnel would be coming every train
Yeah.
all day, and being redistributed throughout the region.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
do see Chris has a question. Chris, do you wanna?
Sure, Chris?
Greg, I
Online?
just want, do you have any idea how much more the tunnel would cost, the yellow tunnel? Ballpark figure.
I think that the intermodal team gave us a cost for the yellow portion only of about $70 million,
Okay,
but I can go back and check on that.
okay, thank you.
And you said the cost is not gonna be added, it's gonna be moved from something else.
Yeah, so that yellow cost is by others. That's not part of the BSV
I
program.
mean, the stretch, the 126-foot stretch is what you guys are.
That's, we would have to come up with this money through the partners that, you know, that we've been talking to.
We mean BART / VTA.
Yes, BART, VTA's BSV program, we
Yeah.
need to come up with the
126.
fund this, and we would work with our partner agencies that we've been talking to hopefully get some funding for that as well.
Let us help with that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can make calls.
I mean, I think some of the city folks are on the line today, as well, who we've been talking to, so, those are some of the things that we absolutely, we need support on for sure. This is approximately a $40 million increase to our job just to do this platform concourse edition, plus put in the steel rings, plus get everything ready for a future connection. So this is a pretty significant investment for this program to do this future connection.
Well, long term, I think it's essential. It's just fabulous. I mean, you've got to do it. As far as I'm concerned.
Good job. Well, it's our job to get the 40 million.
So we got to get the
Exactly.
40 million, right? All right. So again, there is a survey. Please take it. It'll be open. We said till midnight tonight. We're going to extend it to midnight tomorrow. If you do have any questions about the slides, please let us know. I know that we're going to send them out to the program, to the group, right? Tonight or tomorrow morning.
Tonight. Yeah.
And so please take a look at them. If you have any other questions, please send it to us. We really want to, make sure you guys we answer any questions that you guys have.
So the last one you presented to us is this one here.
That's right.
And so if we're going to be advocating, and that's what we're designed to do, if we're committed to that one, I am, then it's our job to help you sell it.
Right.
And make sure that when it goes out, people understand the advantage of it.
Absolutely.
And we'll help you.
Okay. Sounds good.
Don't QR code me. I don't have
I
no
know.
idea what that
I know.
does.
We'll note that.
Right.
All right.
That Rod likes the below ground into BART tunnel.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The addition to the yellow thing is decibel dust compared to the overall project of the, and this will help so much.
Right.
So much.
I agree.
Yeah.
And again, our partners at the folks, who we've had this Diridon task force meeting. I think we've met with them 9 times to come up with that precise location to kind of, we went back and forth with a lot of different alternatives and came up with that. We didn't just willy-nilly
These
it.
are technical folks.
Yeah, these are folks who are designing that station right now. So, it's been a good partnership with them.
We
to
need
get
to
that
have
thing
them.
done.
I'm on the Diridon Station JV.
Yeah.
And we haven't had this presentation yet.
Okay.
So we need.
I
to
think
have-
they're gearing up I think one of these slides actually came from them. This one here. So I don't know if you've seen this one yet, but you'll probably see it soon if you
I
haven't
have,
seen
but
it.
you know what's a little confusing about that is you're showing these little yellow squares and so on. That's the level under the tracks.
That's right.
And so you don't see the tracks there and it's hard to orient yourself
Got it.
unless you're aware of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it shows a lot of commercial opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so next step.
Let me, in Japan, that area would have pilings on top, and on top of the tracks
Even more.
would be 50 stories
Yeah.
of commercial space.
In an earthquake zone.
Yeah.
In an earthquake zone.
I will say we are building a parking garage on top of the BART tracks at the Santa Clara station. So we are utilizing some space over there, just to let everybody know there's some
If we can
efficiency
build
happening.
cars up there, why can't we put people up there? That's, we're housing short in the valley. If we have an.
So
opportunity-
again, the option 1 and option 2 provides the most opportunity for those future mixed use. So we'll definitely take that as a
I know Carolyn Gano was really committed to TOD.
Yeah.
And I think she's pushing Jesse Solis and
Yep.
so others in that direction, so.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
so again, if those are the
help if you could.
selections of the committee, please provide that feedback for the CWG, please provide that. If you think that the option 1 and option 2 are the best scenarios, we'll move forward with it.
This option, what do you call this option?
Yeah, what number? Where's the number?
You can call this direct connection to the tunnel, direct tunnel connection.
Okay, direct tunnel connection.
That's right.
And is that option 1?
I think we've got it listed third, so
Okay,
you can say
option
option 3.
Option 3.
Option 3 for Rod.
We tried to eliminate numbers on
Yeah.
options and call them things like underground, underground with expanded and above ground. But yeah, anyway, we do want to note that we will have another CWG meeting in 19 days. So we'll present some more elements to what we've talked about. We'll gather up the feedback we've gotten from you. We'll gather up the feedback we've gotten from BART, right? Because BART's given us a lot of feedback and the city's also given us independent feedback. We'll gather all that material up and come up with some potential recommendations. We'll give you an update on construction. If you guys have been out there recently, there's some utilities being relocated right now. AT&T and San Jose Water are doing utility relocations in the street to prepare for this work. So these are things that are happening. We are moving forward with a lot of that work today. Anything else on next steps?
Nope, I think you hit it right there, but I also did want to mention that we have a upcoming community meeting for 28th Street Little Portugal, just for your awareness. It's adjacent to this, and it will happen next Wednesday. It'll be hybrid, so both in person and through Zoom at the Roosevelt Community Center. So if you're interested in what's happening at 28th Street, you're welcome to join and tune in there. But please feel free to reach out if there's any further questions, like Greg mentioned, on the technical end, or if you're having issues accessing the survey. Rod, we've noted yours down verbally, and we've been taking notes in this meeting, so we'll definitely capture your feedback.
Yeah, that other station, I'm sure they had very strong feelings about.
Yeah, and we had this same similar meeting with them yesterday.
Yeah.
And got a lot of good feedback from them. We did the same thing. We had a meeting last week and then we decided to do a follow-up meeting. So it was the same thing. We had a meeting with them first last week and then did a much more deeper dive with them yesterday and got some good feedback from them and they had a positive results.
Are they still stuck at 7 stories?
They're a little bit, some of those buildings are a little taller than 7, if I'm not mistaken.
That's out of the flight path.
Yeah.
And it's ideal location in terms of people accessing downtown by foot and by bike.
Yeah.
There's no reason in the world why it shouldn't go 25 stories.
There's various alternatives, I think, to because all those parcels, that whole VTA
It could be
area has a lot of different opportunities.
Could be a real village of with its own focal point around the station.
And there's some community members maybe don't want it so tall too. So I think there's some
That's
feedback both
the
ways.
NIMBYs that have to be reminded that it's a complete valley. It isn't just their neighborhood.
Yeah.
And if the point is the valley doesn't want infill. They don't want density. So if we put the density on top of the train stations, the rest of the valley doesn't have to have density and we can still accommodate growth.
And all you have to do is just come down the escalator and you're at the station. You don't have to get in your bike. You don't have to get in your car.
That whole, and again, when we've met with the community, they have a lot of insight as to what those other blocks are going to be. And that is part of the design development framework and the 5 Wounds Urban Village Plan and all the things that are happening down there. This program, we gotta like lock down the station infrastructure and be ready to move forward. We've got a contractor on board. He wants to put a tunnel in the ground. So, you know, we need to make decisions on some of those things. And so, anyway,
Well,
the community meeting is
delay-
next week.
Delay costs. Inflation, construction inflation is 5 to 15% per year. 7 years, you've doubled your project costs.
Yeah. So, yeah, we definitely want to move forward as quickly as possible. Any other questions from the team today? We've got about 15 minutes. We can kind of hang around and talk to anybody else.
I'm gonna take off, but congratulations on a very nice presentation.
Okay.
I think it was the best transfer of knowledge that we've had so far in this process.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. And thanks
Yeah.
everybody for being here.
Thank you. Folks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. With that, we'll adjourn our meeting, but hope to see you August 21st or potentially next week if you're interested. So we'll send out more details to come in, and I'll email out the survey and the presentation deck that was presented tonight.
And
Appreciate your time.
the Portuguese station is Terry Christensen's.
Yes.
That's it.
Oh.
I won't mess with it.
We were with Terry last week and yesterday as well. So, okay, thanks everybody for being here.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.